Alrighty, we should be live.
Hey,
This
what's up, guys?
this is the Forgotten Sands. I'm joined by Epic Dude Guy, who did Warrior Within True Ending Zipless earlier. We'll go ahead and
Hi.
hop in here. Timing will begin in 3, 2, 1, go.
This is not the glad welcome I was expecting.
So this game takes place in between the Sands of Time and Warrior Within. It was a cash grab game that came out alongside the Prince of Persia movie.
We'll be planning a way out of this.
We're going to be doing quite a bit of jumping because it's significantly faster than walking. This game runs in a different engine than the trilogy, so there's no zipping. There are a lot of glitches though. Most of them will come in later when we get some of our upgrades.
Such a lovely view.
So you learned this game more recently, Robbie. What are your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, I think this is actually a really good game for what it is. Like, it is definitely a cash grab, but even still, it's pretty good, and the speedrun is quite amazing.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It was surprisingly good.
Yeah, like, I don't know. Casually, I'm not really sure. I didn't play it much casually.
I remember being slightly disappointed with it because it wasn't as good as the trilogy, but
Looks like the only way out.
it was
Yeah.
definitely a good time.
It's like, kind of tries to copy Sense of Time, but not really. So you're like, yeah, it's an alright game, but it's not the same as it used to be. You know?
Yeah, and it did carry over a lot of mechanics like sliding down banners and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, but other than that, the movement's quite different.
Yeah.
If you're really used to the trilogy, then this is like, what's happening?
Yeah, this game actually runs in the Assassin's Creed 2 engine. They made a really big deal about it when it came out, and they were touting that you could have hundreds of enemies on screen at once and all this different stuff. But yeah, I see someone in chat mentioning TFS. The Forgotten Sands is actually like 5 different games that all share the same name. The PS3, 360, and PC versions are all the same, and that's this version. Obviously, I'm on PC. That is not perfect. But anyway, the Wii version is terrible. The DS version is bad. The PSP version is okay.
No, it's pretty bad.
What, the PSP version?
I mean, it's not like as bad as the other ones.
I thought it was okay. I had a good time with it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess.
It's not a very good speed game.
Just not really much of a Prince of Persia game.
Well, yeah, or that.
Healing the battle going on.
But yeah, this one is quite good. And the movement, even though, like, if you're playing casually, it can be quite clunky, and a lot of the time the prince doesn't do what you want. But in the speedrun, you can really go wild with routing all the specific movements.
Yeah,
Stuff,
yeah. The
which is
thing I've always loved
pretty
about
good.
the movement for speedrunning is that it's kind of robotic. Like, things work in very exact ways, typically. Like you were saying, there is some unpredictability with, like, aim sometimes, but, like, I don't know, you snap into place for a lot of things, which I feel like isn't true for the trilogy.
Yeah.
Right here, I'm pausing for a half second before continuing. There is a very nasty visual glitch that takes place if you go too fast through that area, and the only way to get rid of it is to completely restart the game, so we're trying to avoid that.
I actually don't have that. I think it's certain graphic cards that have it.
Oh, interesting. I thought it was all PCs.
Yeah, I just go as fast as possible and never glitches out.
So right here, there's a small glitch coming up. This is the only place in the run where I know of that it's useful. If you press down when you wall run on these cobblestones, you can actually wall run in 2 directions at once, like that, and it speeds up this section by like 2 seconds, and you'll never see it again. I just think it's kind of funny that it works.
That's a pretty weird glitch. I remember seeing that when you first beat like fingers and posted your run.
Yeah,
made it public to the community.
Yeah, when I joined Discord, I scrolled up in chat and saw everyone noticing that and not understanding how it worked.
It's like, what was that? Yeah, it's cool.
So coming up here, we have our first real skip that takes a little bit of effort. I'm going to be using a mouse to aim this jump. I have my mouse sensitivity turned down to 0 in the game settings. But basically, if you land on the fence down below us, the fall doesn't kill you, but if you land anywhere else, the fall will kill you. And I aimed a tiny bit too far to the left there, so we'll give that another try.
Yeah, this jump is really precise, and setting it up is never truly consistent.
Yeah, when you bounce up against this ledge, your position is actually a tiny bit different each time, which is pretty unfortunate.
Yeah, I've tried getting like a consistent setup. Just doesn't work. Just kind of have to wing it.
There we go. 4th time's a charm. That's how the saying goes, right? So, one of the main difficulties with movement in this game is I accidentally did it a bit earlier in the run. If you jump towards an enemy like that and land on top of them, it's quite slow. So enemies hinder your ability to move quickly.
Yeah, because jumping is the fastest way to travel.
Yeah,
Did you already say that?
it's ridiculously fast. It's
It's
at
really
least
fast.
2 times faster than walking.
So for like all the corridors in the game, you really want to route out how much you can jump and what you have to do in between, which is really cool.
Yeah.
Like these corridors are pretty easy, but later on there will be a lot of traps that you also want to avoid.
So it may have just looked like I dived through a solid wall, and that is because I did. In this game, the auto-targeting is actually so powerful that if it detects a pole on the other side of a wall, you can actually dive through the wall to that pole. That's the only place in the run where that's useful, unfortunately. We know of one other place where you can do it, and that place skips a load trigger, which makes the game unbeatable. So
Yeah, that
By the
doesn't
time I
sound
reached the
useful.
vaults, I understood why Malik had come here. He had placed his last hope in the armor.
I have a fancy new setup
The other
for
option was retreat.
the treasure vault skip, by the way.
Oh,
It's a
nice.
consistent version of what Fingers does here, if you've ever seen how he does it.
Yeah, he does it later on, right?
Yeah, he like instead of climbing on stuff, he goes straight to the last pillar. So
Yeah.
we'll be seeing that in just a moment. So here's the treasure vault. We skip the entire thing by screwing up, apparently. There we go.
The enemy auto-targeting. Classic.
So by getting to this lever, we open the door to leave the room, and we skip an unskippable cutscene and a whole bunch of other stuff as well.
Yeah, I actually don't think I've ever done this room normally.
Yeah, before I knew about that version of the skip, I knew about a version that skips a little bit less of the room, but it still got rid of
Oh,
the
yeah.
unskippable cutscene.
Yeah, I think I saw a video by Fiddlestick.
Yeah, that's probably where I got that version of the skip.
I think that's
Always sad.
one of the early ones.
What is that?
so we've entered our first genie portal. There's a cutscene, but for some reason if you move, it just stops, so we just kind of ignore it. Lore-wise, we've traveled to the kingdom our brother rules at our father's behest, so that we can learn how to become a great ruler like our brother. But when we got here, we found it under siege. We unleashed Solomon's army, which is an army full of evil sand monsters. Might sound familiar.
This must be what
And now we visited Razia, a good genie lady who gave us the ability to rewind time. And
Wow.
if the other games have taught you anything, with time rewinding comes glitches. So we're going to be making use of rewind boosting in the next room.
And this rewind system is very different from what we've seen before.
Yeah, this rewind system is
this-
checkpoint based, sort of.
Yeah, it
The-
kind of saves like safe spots, and then when you tap rewind, it just rewinds to the latest save spot. If you release rewind, that actually makes for some glitches.
So I had to reset there because an enemy was too close to me and I jumped to him off the wall, and that stops this rewind boost from working. But essentially, when we rewind to the moment that we landed on a wall, we can wall run higher, and that allowed me to skip pretty much everything in this room.
Yeah.
I had to spawn those enemies to hit a load trigger, and then I have to hit a cutscene here to hit another load trigger as well. And go ahead.
Yeah, jumping to the wall like that is considered a safe spot, so you can rewind to it and then start a fresh wall run, if you will.
Yeah,
Which will have
typically the
like
game
the
tries
maximum
to...
wall run, right?
Yeah, the game tries to give you shorter wall runs when you jump for obvious reasons, but we can circumvent that by using a rewind.
Yeah, and that animation being a safe spot is important to remember for later.
Yeah,
Another glitch.
there's a newer glitch that's going to come up where that will be important. That's unfortunate. I'm just going to go ahead and take these guys out. Optimally, we skip all of these enemies, but auto-aiming towards them makes this rewind boost quite difficult.
Oh, that's really close.
This just means that we don't have to kill the first boss in a bit, since it gives the same amount of XP.
Yeah, which is also new in this game. You get experience from killing enemies, and with those experience points, you gain upgrades, which unlock certain abilities to your choosing.
Yeah, and we have a...
need quite some.
Yeah, we have a pretty big skip that's going to require 4 upgrades pretty early on in the run. So right now we're just grabbing as much XP as we can, pretty much, minus 1 or 2 small things to hit all 4 of those upgrades in time. Right here we're actually going to skip half of this puzzle, or we're going to try to at least, by jumping off of that middle plank. It's not designed to be jumped off of, but for some reason you can do it. And because of that, we don't have to actually turn the lever 2 times like you would normally have to. Now we have a unskippable cutscene coming up. So right there I reset checkpoint to give myself more energy, which is what we use to rewind in this game. When you reset checkpoint, if you have 1 or 0 energy, the game will automatically give you 2. And it will also make it so that the very next pot you break gives you another energy. The reason for that is that the way the drop system in this game works is it kind of works on like levels. You can do different things to up that level, but basically resetting checkpoint makes it so that your next level up gives you a drop 100% of the time. Killing enemies is another way to up the level of that, so if you kill enough enemies you will get energy that way as well.
He also just collected a sarcophagus, which grants 50 experience, I think.
Correct. And also drops 2 energy.
Yeah. So those are really nice to get for experience.
So I skipped that room with a clever jump, and then I'll skip this room with a clever wall run. That attack I did, I held down directional buttons on the keyboard at the same time to guarantee that the wall run would work. Here we'll do a rewind boost to skip the second half of this room.
So free.
Right there I drop off the pole instead of jumping to the banner because it's faster. And then I reset this checkpoint not for energy like normal, but to guarantee a certain cycle on these traps. Make this room as fast as possible.
Will this run include kick canceling?
It will, however, I've just lost the cycle due to bad aim.
Okay.
So yeah, kick canceling, this game has a kick attack unlike the other Prince of Persias. And if you fall from a great height, you become staggered and you cannot jump for a moment, but if you kick, you can jump immediately.
Truly amazing.
So that was the first kick cancel, and we'll see another one in just a moment, and then most likely we'll never see one again because I have too much muscle memory ingrained of not doing them. So this
I think those are like the 2 useful ones.
Yeah, I'm sure there's probably others, but I just do roll cancels for everything else.
Yeah. So did you explain the jump chain into grabbing higher?
I didn't. There is a tiny time save you can do here and there. When you jump more than one time in a row, the auto aim and the game gets a little confused and it will shoot you up to higher ledges than it should. So I'll try and point that out the next time it happens, but most of that takes place during stuff we've already done. I think there are like 5 of them in the early game.
Yeah, before you get to rewind time, there's a bunch of them. And it's really cool if you get them.
This room's really funny. We enter that curtain from the wrong direction and skip the entire puzzle. It's the only place in the game where you can grab onto a curtain from below the curtain.
Amazing room design.
So wall storage is coming up shortly.
Right.
This is a brand new glitch found by Epic Dude Guy here. I'll let you take it away.
Right. So the first example he's going to show is actually a pretty bad one to show what actually happens. But the one after that is pretty great. So remember how we said that jumping to a wall is considered a safe spot? Well, now we're going to kind of manipulate that into making the game think we have such a safe spot by jumping to a fence. And what that does... right. It basically gives you a safe animation without a safe location. And then we can set the safe location by being close to a wall and then rewinding. That's kind of how it works. Right now he'll probably shortly show off that you can do kind of a drop glitch with it.
Yep, that is exactly what I just did as you said it. That is quite possibly the slowest I've ever killed those 4 enemies. I couldn't stop jumping on top of that one guy, but... yeah, basically, when you jump into a fence, like he said, it tricks the game into thinking you're on a safe spot on a wall at all times. And so when you rewind, the very next wall it finds near you, it just snaps you onto it, so you can turn 90 degrees mid-rewind. It also allows you to negate fall damage, as he mentioned.
Yeah, it just... yeah.
So I just took my first upgrade, which is, well, I took 2 upgrades. All the powers are locked behind health and energy upgrades. So I took an extra energy tank, and then I took Whirlwind. Whirlwind is a ground pound ability. It does 2 damage, which is absolutely nothing. And now I have to remember how to skip the first boss, because I haven't done that in a very long time. Okay, we're good. So yeah, we just used a rewind boost to get by him. Usually I would kill him, but instead I killed those 20 enemies way back when I did the second rewind boost. Here I'm going to grab wall storage, even though we're not going to be using it for quite a while. This is the last place you can get it.
Yeah, for wall storage, all you need is a fence to activate it, and then to make use of it, you just need to rewind near a wall. As long as you don't rewind, it will just stay. And if you do rewind, but you're never near a wall, the game never stops rewinding. Unless it, well, I guess it runs out at some point. But
yeah,
it just keeps rewinding until the timer is empty.
Yeah, I just lost storage by auto-aiming, pushing me into a wall. I almost went back for it, but instead we'll just do this the normal way. Usually the place I'm about to grab right here, that is where we would drop glitch to using that storage. It saves a very small amount of time.
Yeah, that's also with storage. If you actually do jump to a wall, then it breaks, because then the game can register that you're not on a wall any longer, because
jump to one, when you stop touching the wall, the flag gets reset.
Yeah.
So I just took 2 more upgrades, a health extension and stone armor. So stone armor, when you get hit, it's you don't take damage and you're also not staggered. And it has a secondary property that's probably almost definitely unintended. There are kill fields in this game, invisible areas that if the prince touches them, he dies immediately. And for some reason, stone armor stops those from killing you. So we're going to abuse that in this next area to skip a very large puzzle and a semi-long fight.
Like, how is stone armor so overpowered?
Yeah, it's pretty good. After this, we'll see it for one more skip, and then during the final boss.
So good. Like, I can see in casual play just ignoring all enemy attacks.
It's pretty strong. So
but yeah, for the speedrun, it's pretty good as well.
Yeah, so this is the puzzle skip. We're going to be making use of Whirlwind for a secondary purpose as well.
Right.
Accidentally jumped on the fence there, but Whirlwind actually allows you to clip through walls. It is a semi-difficult trick. Epic Dude Guy will disagree with that.
Nah, it's definitely difficult, but there's certain ways to make it easier, kind of make a setup for yourself. It's mostly
we got
timing
through.
based. Oh, nice.
So yeah, it's
So yeah, what he does is you punch the ground, and then for a few frames you can actually walk forward without your collision being back, and then you have to punch the ground again, so you lose collision again. And when you chain that, you can, well, if you're good, you can just keep going and go through walls. Usually it takes like 2 to 3 punches.
Yeah, you can
get through a door.
The puzzle door, as unfortunate as it is being the first door you clip, it's pretty much the hardest in the entire game. Each door is a little different on how hard they are to get through, and that one's pretty challenging, in my opinion. You might notice that at our second genie portal, she's given us the ability to solidify water. Does that mean we're freezing it? We don't know, but it is solid, and that is what counts.
But yeah, back to the clipping thing. To make it easier, you can do something that I found and that I call neutral clipping. It's when you actually don't hold any direction after punching the ground, then you can time it yourself, like moving and pressing whirlwind again, and that makes it a lot easier than just like keep holding forward and just mashing it.
Yeah, that is pretty much what makes this run reasonable, in my opinion.
Yeah. So you can time pressing one button after the other.
So we're coming up on prison skip, which is a horrible thing. Right there, that rewind boost I did saves almost no time, but it makes this rewind boost possible, which is what's important, because this one saves quite a bit of time. So we've gotten up here with 3 energy. We're going to get our 4th right there, and then it takes 4 pots to get an energy, so we break 3. Grab wall storage here, and we're going to clip through this fence real quick. No, we're not. We're going to start over, because sometimes that doesn't work. But yeah, there's a 4th pot below us once we clip through that we're going to break, and that's going to give us another energy. And then we're going to do basically an RNG trick. It looks like the fact that I got the energy mid-rewind ate it, so I'm not going to get that extra energy, which is very unfortunate. We'll just have to hope... Oh, there it came in finally.
Oh, you got it? Yeah. Yeah, sometimes you get the energy, but then it doesn't appear until later for some reason.
So the only way we found to make this trick more consistent is to pause and rewind at a specific point, and we did get it first try. So every time I rewinded right there, it was kind of random chance whether or not my wall run was going to take me higher or lower than it did before. And you need it to take you higher 2 times in a row to get high enough to get up on that fence.
Yeah, it's really weird. The wall kind of has protection on it that
Yeah, to like stop you from wall running.
Yeah, it makes the prin's wall run less high than he usually would. And by doing that weird thing that he did, you kind of break the protection, kind of.
So we have another wall clip coming up here, but first we're gonna grab another sarcophagus for some easy XP and for the 2 energy it drops to make this next wall clip easier.
Also, what he just did in the sewers where he turns 90 degrees at a fence, that works because when the prince jumps off of a fence, he turns around in a set direction first, and then he is facing the wall. And then when you rewind with storage, you get dragged onto that wall. So you can turn 90 degrees that way.
We got the wall clip first try, then the prince refused to wall run for a bit, but we're good now.
Nice. Yeah, that clip can be quite annoying.
Yeah, it's very
Because,
strange.
there's a lot of the rubble there, and sometimes you don't get through enough to actually make it through the rubble as well. So you're gonna kind of get stuck.
Yeah, and you have to have an energy left over after that wall clip so that you can do this rewind boost.
Yeah. Otherwise you would have to kill the summoner.
Yeah. The summoners are the orange enemies. We actually haven't interacted with them yet, but they summon other enemies, and a spooky fact about them is that they have 13 health, which is completely arbitrary, and like literally the only reason that it makes sense is that they did it just as a joke to themselves because the summoners look kind of scary. So I rewinded time after breaking that last sarcophagus, which stopped me from getting the energy it drops, but I was actually just getting that one for the XP. I just reset checkpoint here to get some more energy back. So we skipped the first half of the baths with this rewind boost. There are actually like 5 ways to skip the baths, but I'll be going for the fastest ways, obviously. The
Targeting strikes again.
yeah, the second half of the skip is this precise stuff right here. I was a tiny bit too far to the right for it to work.
It's a really precise setup, but there's like these things on the walls that you can use to aim it. And after that, it's just a sequence of buffering inputs.
Yep, we got there on the like second or third try. Third, I think. I recently found out this hallway right after it. If you reset checkpoint, it actually gives you a very nice pattern.
Oh.
There are lots of hallways you can do that with, but I didn't realize this was one of them before.
It's always like you die, or like you hit a trap and then you reset checkpoint, and then you're like, oh, this is pretty good.
Yeah. So this is the Royal Chambers.
This area is the best area in the game. Because, you know, when you're routing and when this glitch didn't exist yet, this is so promising. Because normally here there's a chase sequence with, what's his name again?
Ratosh, the bad guy of this game.
Right, the bad guy. And it loops around the same area multiple times. And what we want to do as speedrunners is to cut through and go straight to the end of the sequence. And that's what we do right there. We use storage and stone armor to skip almost the entire chase.
Yeah, so that was a bit different than what we saw before with stone armor. We actually walked on top of a death barrier, which is different than a death field. So right there I grabbed another sarcophagus, and I originally got that in my route just for the XP, but then I realized if we're gonna get so much energy, we may as well use it for something. So I've started clipping that door, which I used to think was a terrible idea because it's a really hard door to clip, but for some reason I just get it most of the time, so I just haven't stopped.
Because clipping is easy.
Whatever you say, man. So yeah, that's Ratosh, the big scary genie man. This is our first time seeing him, I suppose, in the speedrun at least. Real quick fun fact about this hallway, because the PC version was never patched, if you reset checkpoint here or die, unfortunately, it corrupts your save, and in the next room the game sort of soft blocks and you just never get to continue.
Sure hope that doesn't happen.
Nah, we're good. So this is the observatory. This is the worst part of the speedrun because we can't break it. We tried.
Yeah. Be right back, gonna get some sleep. There's only small things you can do here, like jumping off early of things.
Yeah, there's a pretty funny glitch at the end of this that you found the slant landing, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a pretty funny thing at the end of this, but all the skips in this save like half a second or something. Like none of them are big. We did find a wall clip that lets you get into the next area, but it misses load triggers, so it's no good.
Yeah, you can trigger the fight that's supposed to happen, and you need the fight to be able to progress, because the layout of the room changes afterwards.
Little glitch here where we clip through the floor right there. No idea why it works, but it does. Whoops.
And I guess this area isn't that long.
No, it's really not. It just feels long because for the entire rest of the game, you're so used to constantly breaking things.
Nice job.
Yeah. I actually had a glitch here one time on this jump I'm about to do right now.
Oh yeah, that was so awesome.
Yeah, it was the long jump. The game's auto-aim like targeted those cobblestone to the left over there from way back on that platform, and the prince just jumped like halfway across this room for no reason.
It was like an insane jump.
Makes me think a task of this game, if you took the right amount of time, would be pretty interesting to watch, but maybe one day.
You did do segmented, right?
Yeah, segmented is
To a certain extent.
yeah, it's RTA viable segmented. Everything I do in that
Right.
run you could do in a real run, but it's not perfectly optimized. It could be a bit better. But I believe it's like 110 something now.
Yeah, I think so.
And
I remember you started doing that, and then I found a huge glitch that you had to reroute it.
yeah, you found storage and it changed everything.
Yeah, to do everything again.
So yeah, we were supposed to jump on that platform and freeze water, which stops this whole contraption from moving. Instead, Robbie found this funny thing where if you get right here on this fence, you can jump to it as it comes back around. And while we're waiting, we're going to grab our next upgrade, which is Ice Blast, which is extremely overpowered.
Don't miss the platform.
I didn't. So yeah, funny fact about landing on the platform like that is the prince stands sideways like this.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. You can actually attack, and then that will also be slanted still. It's
Yeah.
only if you start moving, people recover.
So right there, I made a mistake, and you saw one of the downsides to speedrunning this game, and that is that it will buffer inputs from a really long time ago. So I was mashing jump, and as soon as I realized my mistake, I stopped, and then like about a half to 3/4 of a second later, he jumped anyway. And that's just something you kind of get used to when running this game.
Yeah,
So-
mistakes are punished really hard.
So here's the second boss, and he's dead because Ice Blast. So yeah, Ice Blast is it has, every power has 4 levels. Right now we only have level 1, and as you see, it melts bosses. We will be
Also, we didn't really explain like the charge attacks.
Oh yeah, we haven't really gone over the combat system at all yet. But to be fair, it hasn't been relevant yet because that's what we've done to this game.
Yeah, that's true.
So yeah, the combat system works on a combo system. The combos are 5 hits long. Hits 1 and 2 deal the same amount of damage. 3 and 4 deal a little bit more, and 5 deals quite a bit more. The same is roughly true for the charged attacks, but they deal considerably more damage. And I will talk more about them in just a second after I ruin everything.
What you do is just like you hold the attack button and then charges up in a stronger attack, which is very commonly used.
So there's a random chance this trick doesn't work, I've noticed. I don't know what causes it. There we go. That's what it's supposed to look like. So usually that works on the first try and it skips this entire room. The reason I was pausing was to buffer in directional inputs so that I get an instant change in direction, which is what makes that work.
Maybe it matters which direction you press first.
I messed around with that and I couldn't get it to matter.
Just like the other setup.
But yeah, that was Ratosh. We're not interested in fighting him, so we're leaving. In the cutscene, he knocked our brother across a room casually. So there's that. And we were like, we were really angry at him, and we were going to do something about it, but then we just broke through the wall instead.
Yeah, and as the door with the gear puzzle skip was one of the harder ones, that wall was the easiest one. Like that's the thinnest wall in the game.
I accidentally got there with only 2 energy, which is the exact amount you need to do it, and I still just went for it because it's that easy.
Well, I think you can get through with 1.
Yeah, you can, but it's like not, you can't do it on purpose.
It's pretty funny. It's like, oh, wait, I'm already through. Yeah.
So we just got the dash ability, which just lets us shoot as a ball of light towards enemies that are in front of us. Got an annoying skip here. I'm going to try not to screw up. Hey, there we go. So this is a terrace skip. Just jump between these two pillars until you get up here.
Saves 20 seconds.
Yeah, it's really nice. One-time glitch here, damage storage. Get hit by that guy on purpose. And for whatever reason, we're going to jump off of a great height here in a moment. And when our body hits the death field, it's going to bounce because we have damage storage. And that's going to let us hit a checkpoint.
It only
Bounce.
works if you get hit by an enemy that's still loaded. I think
Yeah,
that's how it works.
yeah,
Like, if you
it's
get
very
hit really early
strange.
on, it doesn't work. It also doesn't work with all death triggers. But
Yeah,
here it works.
and
it's
also
pretty
quite
funny.
quite commonly, checkpoint triggers won't hit if you're dead, but that one does for some reason.
Yeah.
Like, in a lot of places where they thought you would accidentally hit the trigger while falling to your death, they put in a life check, but for that one they just didn't think people would jump down there, I guess.
Guess they don't know me. Yeah, I was actually trying to get down into that checkpoint with storage by falling down and then having storage, jumping off at some point, but then I just fell into the trigger and I bounced into the checkpoint. Like, what just happened?
So this
Took
is
me quite a while to figure it out.
yeah, I don't know how you backtrack things like that. Like, that's kind of how you found storage also, was you did it by accident and then
Yeah,
retraced your steps.
it's kind of how glitch hunting works. You do stuff until funny stuff happens, and then you have to figure out how it is.
Well, now you know why I found very few glitches. I'm just good at finding skips. So right here is the second newest skip. This is not in world record, and I'm gonna go for it because I want to show off cool stuff. But a lot can go wrong with this skip. So I took an upgrade there just because I'm gonna need that extra energy. Then I'm going to, I got wall storage, now I'm getting 2 more energy. I'm gonna clip through this wall. Count
Yeah,
to
the other
10.
thing about storage is we said that it doesn't stop rewinding until it runs out. And when you do that, when you're on top of something that you're not supposed to be on, like out of bounds, it actually allows you to wall run after the rewind runs out. It allows you to walk. Sorry.
Yeah, so I'm now standing on the ceiling. And
Normally-
we did it first try.
Nice.
That was the
Normally,
trick I was
yeah.
most worried about. I'm very happy with that.
When you're standing on an out of bounds ceiling, normally the game would take away your ability to rewind before it runs out. But it doesn't when you have storage. So get wrecked.
Yeah, when I clipped back in right there, the ceiling that I was standing on afterwards is like semi-permeable, and by that I mean like you can stand on it for a moment, but then you fall through. And the key is to clip out far enough and then turn around without accidentally walking back through the wall. And when you fall through the ceiling wall facing the other direction, you end up grabbing onto the ledge, and you don't die from fall damage. So yeah, a lot of things can stop that trick from working, and it saves very little time. So it's almost not worth going for, except the fact that we knew that was down there. We knew we could clip through that wall for years, and we just didn't have the glitches available to us to make it work. And now that we finally do, it's really nice to see the dream realized.
Yeah. It's pretty good.
These are genies. They're a new enemy type that was introduced a few rooms ago. Their only purpose is to be dashed to. That's literally the only reason they exist. Nice little wall clip with a jump after it there. Makes it a little unique. Right here we have to backtrack to hit a load trigger.
Hope we can hold out against that.
Yeah, if you are behind a wall out of bounds, you can usually jump back in bounds just by, well, jumping.
Yeah, the problem is that most walls have nothing for you to... Hello? Couldn't get the sarcophagus, but most walls don't have anything for you to stand on the other side.
Yeah.
So you usually just fall immediately. Another skip we can credit. Another skip we can credit to Robbie here.
Oh yeah, this one's really good.
That skips quite a bit of stuff right there, and it's just a diagonal jump using a keyboard setup.
Yeah, the game tries really hard to, you know, prevent that area from being seen.
Yeah, but it turns out that you end up looping right back around to where you started, so... We used to have a really convoluted setup using wall storage and rewind fence jumps and stuff to make that work, but then I managed to find a keyboard setup for it, so...
Also, spend my leak in chat.
Yeah, if it hasn't been explained in chat already, I don't think we've touched on it. Malik is the prince's brother, and I mentioned that it sounded like he's saying my leek, like the vegetable. So we made a emote for that, because we're special people.
It's a pretty good emote.
Fancy little wall jump skip here. This one saves quite a bit of time as well, and it's really easy to do.
And this one also skips another version of this.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
And that one, you would have to wall run over the fence, which is really random sometimes.
Yeah. So coming up we have Fish Jump, which we can credit to Fingers to Hand, who held world record in this game for quite a long time before I took it from him. So yeah, we can actually jump off the back of that fish fountain. You don't actually land on the part of it that you can see. The hitbox we're landing on is like an invisible chunk behind its tail. But yeah, it just lets you skip that entire fight.
Because we did a skip earlier, that thing actually isn't broken. I think normally when you do it casually, that fish breaks down.
Oh really?
Yeah.
I didn't
Now
realize
it's
that.
there.
I didn't
And,
realize we created that for ourselves.
And how to reach that area where we skipped to. Normally you would just do the fight and then there will spawn a genie that you can dash to. But yeah, skipping the fight saves quite a bit of time.
Yeah, that fight has, I think, 4 summoners, and you have to Spartan kick them off the edge of the platform, which is kind of fun, but... So right there, I did something a little risky and did a wall run over that saw blade instead of just waiting on it. Right here, we're just going through the game casually as you would expect. There's absolutely nothing wrong with jumping to this water pillar. It's fully intended. Anyone can see that. Yeah, there's actually like there's a little platforming section and then you slide down a slope is how you're supposed to get to that pillar. But most people just jump straight to it because that seems like what you're supposed to do. It's literally right there.
That skip was found by everyone who played this game.
Yeah, pretty much. So now we're getting introduced to birds. They're like genies, but they can fly. They just exist to be dashed to. The only instance in the run right here where I cancel a roll with a jump. It's kind of hard to do, and that's the only place where I know it's useful.
I think the birds are kind of lame. It's kind of like a lazy environment design.
Yeah, they are. So these are the summoners we mentioned before. The fastest way to kill them is to knock them down like that.
At least the first summoners we kill.
I believe so, yes. So, we just got enough for another 2 upgrades. We'll get Ice 2 and Power Attack upgrade. Power Attack upgrade is a 1.5 times damage multiplier on charge attacks. And level 2 of Ice just increases the amount of damage it does by a bit, but mostly makes it last longer. And also, I don't think I mentioned, when you do charge attacks with ice, that deals more ice damage than regular attacks do. Right here is a really funny looking skip that once again Robbie found. No idea why this works, but you can stand on that slope and then wall run, and this door has no hitbox, thanks to Ubisoft.
Prince tries to target the swinging pole like the water beam, but because it's not solidified, it doesn't actually grab it, and then you can walk on the slant.
I almost had that hallway perfectly. It still looked really nice, but screwed it up at the end.
Yeah, the camera doesn't follow fast enough.
So
here is a great example of storage.
Yeah, I forgot to mention the second half of the bath skip and this are thanks to Drunken Shoe. He's never run this game that I'm aware of. He just glitch hunted it for a bit with us. So yeah, we just skipped a like 5-minute long boss fight by doing that.
Yeah, you just jump close enough to the fence and then rewind, and you will get sucked onto it. And you can survive amazing height. Such an amazing skip.
Yeah, they didn't think to put
so
death fields in there. So usually death fields limit your ability to like how far you can fall with the use of storage, but there aren't any there, so you can fall pretty much as far as you want. Right there I reset just because it lines you up to perfectly jump through that saw blade hallway.
The Jinn didn't want visitors.
Then if you time it right, you can actually jump around this corner like that, which is a little faster than wall running. Now it's time for scarabs. Scarabs have 1 HP and give 1 experience. They're pretty useless. They're just there to annoy us. If you can't tell, they're popping out of the ground right there, and I'm just melting them with ice.
Sounds quite contradiction.
A little counterintuitive. The firepower is the only one we haven't gotten, and we will not be getting it because it is completely useless.
Yeah, and it's finding a glitch with fire. It actually looks really cool, I think.
Yeah, it does look pretty cool.
Because we never use it.
But yeah, even in New Game Plus, when you have the fully upgraded version of fire, it's just completely useless. Like, ice is just so overpowered. There's no reason to deal damage with anything else.
Yeah, interestingly, in New Game Plus, you actually wouldn't get all the upgrades, because when you upgrade the whirlwind too much, it gets this really long animation. You can't really
Yeah.
click with it anymore.
The damage whirlwind does is pitiful. Level 1 does 2, level 2 does 3, and level 3 does 4. So you might just casually forget to skip a cutscene. You might think that level 4 is going to do like 5 damage, but it doesn't. Level 4 does 8 damage. It does 4 2-damage ticks that take a really long time, and it takes away the ability to clip with it completely.
That doesn't sound like an upgrade to me.
No, it's really not. You also might see how we're falling a lot right now and think to yourself, it seems like storage would save a lot of time here. But this entire stairwell is littered with death fields, and the lower half of it, the walls cannot be wall run on, which stops storage from working on them as well. So storage unfortunately saves no time here.
I think Razia might have warned me about
Yeah, you can do those cheeky jumps though.
Yeah, the little
the
delayed
curtain.
jumps I was doing.
You can jump like really late off of those things for some reason. Also, this corridor is amazing.
Yeah, and I did manage to get this corridor without making any mistakes, so very happy about that. That's one of the harder ones, but it's really satisfying to do quickly. So we just got another genie power. We only have one more genie portal to go through after this, and we'll be getting a sword upgrade out of that one, not a power.
Yeah, so this power is quite weird to understand if you've never played this game.
Yeah, basically there are these holographic platforms, and I can have one of them solidified at any given time. The idea is that Razia is showing us what this place looked like as she remembers it from like thousands of years ago, since things have kind of decayed. But fun fact, we can actually not solidify this one and wall run on it anyway.
So all he's doing is just pressing a button and then it
Yeah.
becomes solid. Like that is not very apparent if you're just watching like, how it's... Yeah, just press a button.
So yeah, that will allow us to do one skip, and exactly one skip. But that'll be coming up after this next fight. We're about to see our first giant. I'm actually going to reset here for energy. Giants have 96 HP, which, to give you a rough idea of the skeleton dudes all around me, the really simple basic enemies, they have 6. So giants have quite a bit of health, and that seeing that thing's health bar go down also gives you a good idea of how much damage ice does. When you get a giant down on its knee like that, below half health, you're actually supposed to kill it in a quick time event. But it's actually faster to just continue killing it with ice.
They also, I think they always give you like an energy, except when you already have a power active.
Yeah,
sometimes you want to like let it run out before you kill him.
Yeah, as I explained earlier, the what I call the orb counter, the like system that determines whether or not pots drop nice things for you. I mentioned that it works on a level system. The level can't go up while you have ice or other similar powers active. So otherwise you would you could just ice through everything and never run out of energy and be an unstoppable god. So
well, that's still true though.
Yeah, but we have to work for it a little.
Oh yeah, that spot before the cutscenes where I use another kick cancel, I think. But it doesn't really save time because of cycles.
So this is the throne room. Or well, it's one of many throne rooms in this game, I suppose, but there used to be a collision launch here, which is a fun glitch where you clip inside of things, that chair in this instance, and then you mash jump rapidly while holding a direction, and the prince shoots way up into the air, and he lands up on the platform that lets you leave the room. But with ceiling walking instead, we can just use wall storage to walk on top of the next area, which is much faster.
Yeah, so again, you land on a ceiling out of bounds, which is not allowed, and with storage, the game doesn't take your ability to rewind away, and then when you fully rewind, you can walk on the ceiling.
And this checkpoint extends out of bounds just a tiny bit, and the game crashed.
Oh.
Which is a thing that happens when you reset checkpoint a lot. There's, I would say, something like a 1 in 200 chance, somewhere around there. Every like 200 checkpoint resets, the game will crash-ish. But luckily, the only time we're resetting is right after we hit a checkpoint, like 99% of the time. So restarting the game doesn't really lose a ton of time in most instances.
Yeah, the checkpoints are actually like auto-save.
Fun little thing that I think you showed me, Robbie, where you dash to the genie and he breaks the pots for you with his corpse.
Oh yeah, that's really funny.
Right here, there are 2 doors, and we used to think it wasn't really practical to clip through them because you had to clip through, both doors have 2 sides you have to clip through, but then we figured out you can wall run out of them, although I'm currently failing to do that.
Yeah, so like there's a double layer, and when you're in the middle, you can wall run out of it.
There we go. It took me a couple years, but I got there.
It's kind of weird, and the enemies are also hitting you.
So yeah, for the fighting game nerds out there, you need to hold wall run and then do a fire Hadouken motion on your analog stick. But the second door I got at first try, thankfully. So
You do like a half 180 degree with your control stick from left to right. At least that's what I did.
yeah, that's fire Hadouken.
That was also found totally by accident.
Yeah. You can do it on a lot of doors, but those are the main ones where it's useful.
Yeah, here you're actually like clearly between two sections. The other doors aren't like that, but it still works. Like if you're kind of stuck inside a door, you can also clip out of it using that method.
So now we're coming up on Reservoir Skip, which is incredibly precise. I've been working on a new setup for it that I'm hoping won't let me down. Fingers crossed. It took us like over a week, I would say, of just trying to make this consistent.
Yeah, I've never been so frustrated over a skip in my life, other than this one. It was quite the emotional roller coaster.
So the tricky part is to get onto this fence by rewinding to a moment you touched it. Now I can do solidify those and then freeze the water, and then do a rewind boost right here to get up to this pillar, and that skips like multiple fights, or I guess it skips one big fight and then multiple platforming sections. It's a pretty big skip.
Like a bit
And
over a
I
minute,
just screwed up, and now I have to do it a second time in a row.
What? There's a checkpoint here.
I reset checkpoint too early. That's, yep. It wouldn't be a marathon run if something didn't go wrong.
Let's do it again. So yeah,
Really
first
put my
part
setup
is,
to the test here.
you jump kind of against this broken fence, and that makes your jump like really long for some reason, and then you land on this pixel where the prince gets stuck for a bit, and when you rewind to that point, you can stand on the fence, and that's kind of how the skips work. How the skip works. But yeah, all of it is insanely precise, and I have a pretty good setup for it that nobody uses. Also, you have to do this drifting thing.
Yeah,
you
so the reason
hold
I'm pausing,
directions
yeah, the
midair.
reason I'm pausing is to hold directions with instantaneous change, as I did a bit earlier. Here it's a bit more precise though.
Yeah, that looks good. Oh, didn't work.
That really should have worked. I have to have 1 energy left over afterwards to do the rewind boost, so if I get down to 1, I have to reset checkpoint. So this is a good for demonstration purposes of how difficult this trick can be.
And also, funny fact is, I found this trick on the PlayStation 3 version, and then I concluded that it's actually impossible to do on the PlayStation 3 version. I never got it again, but we figured it out on PC, so it's good enough.
Yeah, doing this without keyboard would be insane. I've done it without keyboard a couple times, but it is quite challenging. Okay, well the new setup is not working even though it worked on the first try, so we're gonna go back.
Yeah. The thing is, when you do this, the starting position isn't always the same when you just turn into that spot where he almost falls down.
Yeah.
What I do is I climb down and then back up.
Yeah, I messed around with that, but I couldn't get it to make me any more likely to succeed. I have been trying to go for a more consistent placement for standing, just like from bouncing up against the ledge, though. You can also see that when I'm rewinding sometimes, he's randomly turning 90 degrees and like doing a falling animation, and that is because I'm actually getting storage when I'm bouncing off of this fence.
Wait, but if you have storage, then doesn't it fully rewind?
Well, you're rewinding to the moment you got storage, so it stops rewinding.
Yeah, but then the trick never works. Because it won't stop rewinding when you're supposed to be standing on the fence.
Well, I think standing on the fence is different than standing on the ground, and I think it cancels that out. But I could be wrong. I don't really know how to stop it from happening, so until after the run's over, it's not really going to help me.
I think you have to get rid of storage when you attempt the trick.
Well, we'll give it a go here. And if this fails much longer, I suppose you'll get to see what this area is like casually.
Because those attempts really look like they should work. Maybe not.
Make sure I don't have storage.
Maybe it isn't storage. Like sometimes you get that animation, but you don't actually have storage.
I double tap pause too quickly there. Oh. I don't know if this is going to work. I am not standing in the correct spot.
What?
Oh my god, it worked.
What's this?
Whatever, it worked. Okay, so anyway, as I was trying to say last time, we're going to get storage here. Walk in here, reset checkpoint, except this time we're going to reset the correct checkpoint. And that makes this hallway a joke, and I literally just get to walk like under this swinging beam like it's no big deal. The arrows ignore me. Get over here and this thing's in the perfect spot. Then we come out here, knock all these guys down. Lose storage because auto aim is stupid. Whatever, I'll just reset. It's not worth it. So yeah, basically how we couldn't use storage on the sliding stairwell before, we actually can use it on this one. So we just fall off the end here, and as soon as we see that we've died, we rewind and skip straight to the bottom.
You actually never lost storage in that section.
Are you sure? I hung off a fence. I think that...
No, that doesn't have storage.
Really?
It's only when you like touch a wall.
Interesting. I thought hanging off of things counted as touching a wall.
Yeah, we're fighting. Blocks melting. Truly amazing. Like most of these, you basically kill them before they spawn.
Yeah, with some of the bigger enemies, they have really long spawn animations, so you can get pretty big combos off on them. There are more enemies left than I was expecting. I'll just reset checkpoint after this. So coming up, we've got another door clip. This one's somewhat difficult. It used to be undoable before we started figuring out how to time our clipping, but with neutral clipping, it's not too horrible.
It wasn't really undoable. It was more like not viable because it
Yeah,
didn't take that
that's
much time.
Yeah, that's a better way to put it.
But now it's very viable, I would say. Clipping is easy.
Well, I proved you right. Are you happy?
Yes.
So, you might have noticed that my sword just changed. I don't know if we actually have... sometimes when you try and solidify this beam, it just doesn't. So we'll just do that the normal way. But... fun fact, you can use upgrade points to get rewinds and then use them immediately to undo a mistake you did before you had the upgrade. Which is something I usually don't want to have to resort to, but desperate times.
It's a pretty good backup to have. And we have some extra points we can spend at the end of the game.
Yeah, and you know why that fight I was like, man, there are more enemies than I thought there'd be. It's because I didn't get ice level 4, which I don't think you do ever anyway, right?
No,
I usually do for that fight, but oh well. Some really stupid stuff's about to happen.
Right.
Like me standing on invisible beams that don't exist. That wasn't intentional, but
So he did the checkpoint restart earlier, which is crucial. And now the next checkpoint restart is going to be interesting.
yeah, so you got to see it twice because I screwed up, but that door just disappeared. And this door is going to disappear too. And now if I turn around, oh look, there's a door there. But
so, yeah, how I think it works. There are these fights, and when you complete the fight, the door opens. But you also get a checkpoint after the fight. So I think if you would just do the fight normally and then checkpoint restart, the devs had like this mechanic where, you know, the doors are separated from that, so it doesn't soft lock if you reset too quickly. Like maybe if they didn't have that and you reset, the door just doesn't open.
yeah,
I think it's something like that where they implemented it to prevent soft locking. So if you just checkpoint reset and go to the point where the fight would end normally, then the door opens. Kind of funny.
yeah, there's some really sloppy trigger placement in the end game here. That platform I just did that door clip on, for instance, there's supposed to be a fight there, but because I jumped onto the platform at a specific angle, I just jumped around the fight trigger. So, as said, we are getting into the end game here, and I'm guessing I'm going to go over estimate due to reservoir based on where the clock's at now, but by how much remains to be seen. There's not a bunch of difficult stuff left. Everything left is pretty simple.
Rip world record, to be honest.
Yeah, I have world record in this game currently. We use a load remover, and the world record in-game time is 1 hour 14 minutes and something. I would like to get that down to a 13 at some point, but I think after PoPRuns I'll be taking a short break from speedrunning.
But now you're de-rusted.
I did say a short break.
Yeah, this...
Oh, nice.
I kind of want to
Marathon
run this
luck.
again.
We get 2 crashes.
Oh, that's pretty unlikely.
So yeah, this is the last difficult thing I would say, and it's not that big of a deal. This hallway is difficult to do quickly, I would say, like to do as fast as possible. I'll give it one more go and then I'll just go through it normally. Yeah, I didn't get it. There's a specific set of movements you can do to go through this constantly jumping at full speed basically, but it's quite difficult. Some of the jumps have some pretty precise aiming that you don't really have time to set up for. And then in this room we've got the only skip I'm not doing in this run, and that is I could use wall running and dashing to get up to the enemies on the upper platform, and then I could clip through the door up there. But it's a pretty hard door to clip through, and it saves very little time over just doing the room casually, so I'm not going to risk it.
I think I do it in my PV.
Yeah, I think it's in world record, but I just don't think it's worth it.
Oh, okay. Don't remember that.
So there's a mechanic, or well, it's an exploit really, where you can dupe energy, and we used to use it in that area where I clipped through 2 doors in a row and both of them were double-sided, but then we figured out you could just wall run out of them, and so it wasn't really relevant anymore, but I will be duplicating some energy here. Also, sometimes the summoner gets out of the ground really slowly, and when you dash to him it doesn't knock him over, which is quite annoying.
Basically, you kill some enemies to get energy, and then when you spend 1 energy to rewind, you get all of those energies you got earlier, you get them again.
Yeah, so the giant gave me...
reason.
Yeah, the giant gave me 2 energy on death, and the summoner gave me 1. Then I expended an energy to rewind, and I got 3 more, and so I got a net gain of 2. Also, I don't remember if I mentioned, I think we got sidetracked on something, but the new sword is ridiculously powerful. If you just noticed, I killed a giant in 2 hits. It's actually a 14 times damage multiplier on all the damage we were doing before we had this sword. So it just kind of turns the average enemies into mush.
Like, so ridiculous. Like, what should we do for this sword? Like, how much stronger? Like 2 times or 2.5? What about 14?
Yeah,
Okay.
Okay, the prince just jumped through a solidified swinging pole, but anyway, when I was messing around trying to track down the numbers for like how much health things have and how much damage each ability does, it was really challenging because the numbers they chose are very strange for certain things. For instance, there's an upgrade. There are 2 upgrades for your basic attack. The first one is 1 1/3 times more powerful than base damage, which is just a really odd choice in my opinion. The second one is an even 2 times base damage, which, you know, makes sense, but I just have to ask myself, why wouldn't they make it 1.5 times? Why 1 1/3? Then you have enemies with really arbitrary health amounts, like the summoner having 13, the giants having 96 instead of an even 100. Just really strange things like that.
Ubisoft, please.
Also, I'm sorry, I've been slacking on lore. In that boss fight we skipped by clipping through a wall. we sort of defeated Ratosh, but then our brother, the way we absorb XP is through a medallion that we have. It's how we unleashed the Sand Army, and our brother has a piece of the medallion too, so he was absorbing XP as well, but it was going to his head and making him power hungry. So he absorbed Ratosh when we killed Ratosh, and Ratosh kind of possessed his body. So that happened. So then the boss fight we skipped with that storage jump was actually against Ratosh in our brother's body. And he was too powerful for us, so we kind of had to run away. And now we're coming up on the final confrontation here. We're pretty much going to have to kill our brother in order to stop the world from ending, which is a little sad, but...
We skipped Ratosh like 5 times and now he's so angry.
Yeah, we actually don't fight him until the final time.
Stop running away. And then when we do confront him, he blows up to him. Like,
Yeah, some people like to point out that it's the wind is so strong it's literally ripping this stone building apart, and yet the prince is completely unharmed.
Stone armor, man. Too strong.
So yeah, this is what Ratosh looks like now that he's fully powered up. This is in fact his final form. Also, if you couldn't guess, this cutscene is unskippable. I'm not watching it on purpose. So now we just have some really easy fights with some platforming in between before we get to the boss battle.
I've never seen a storm like this. Once. Let's hope we can make it the last of its kind.
Yeah, there's just this crazy storm going on. Everything's flying around. Prince is just making multiple leaps of faith.
Yeah, he does just
He
jump
will
to a lot
land on
of stuff that's
something.
not even there. It's a little concerning.
I'll probably be a bird or a platform. Right?
Actually having to use a rewind in the ending section. Sometimes when you mash the dash button, the prince just doesn't dash for reasons unknown.
What the heck? Never seen that.
It's pretty rare. It does happen every once in a while, though. Luckily, there's a checkpoint right here where we can get some more energy. So, there is one more skip we have. We actually get to skip the final phase of the last boss due to some clever damage manipulation. And by that I just mean dealing very exact amounts of damage.
Yeah, the fight has multiple phases. Well, it has 4 phases.
Yeah, each tied to a quarter of the boss's health.
We basically go from
What happened?
1
The army
to
is
3
playing my
to
magic.
kill. right?
Yeah, so the first time we hit him, we're gonna take him down to below 50% health, which is gonna... He does phase 2 still, but it's faster. And then he goes straight into phase 3, and from phase 3 we take him straight down to dead.
Pretty easy.
Right here, I'm gonna use stone armor to guarantee that these guys don't knock me out of my combo. And then I'm gonna reset the boss because everything went wrong.
The army is draining my magic.
So the first hit,
As is tradition.
Well, I wasn't
A 5-hit
expecting Rataj
combo.
to make this easy on us.
Yeah, the first hit needs to be the most powerful one you can give.
Couldn't you pick somewhere a little
The
easier
second
to get
hit
to?
is one less than that, and then the third and final hit is the strongest again.
so you can just do a dry combo, I guess you could call it. You just build it up 4 times in the air, and then you wait until you unleash your 5 combo.
So yeah, that's what it's supposed to look like. The 5th hit, when you charge it, has 3 swings, and you can't hit him with all 3, but even if you could, it wouldn't be beneficial. So we hit him with 2, which takes him down to below half health. He does 7 spitball attacks, then he summons more enemies. We're actually not going to kill any of these guys because it's going to cause something pretty funny to happen at the end. Now he's going to do 8 spitballs, and then we're going to get into position to finish him off. So I'm just going to be using stone armor to tank all of these hits and not care about them. So there's that hit, and then one more. And the birds we fly to... Oh, that's time, by the way. The birds we fly to after we kill him actually spawn the moment that his health hits 0. So we can fly to them even when we can't see them. Because the enemies were still alive, we get this funny little cutscene. And if we have enough of them, something even better is about to happen. Not quite. Sometimes you can, so they will actually kill me, even though we're in the end game cutscene. And if you have enough enemies, they will actually kill you while you're on screen, and you can watch the prince's corpse fly away. But that was the Forgotten Sands. I'm pretty happy with how that run went, minus reservoir skip, but that's how things go. Any closing remarks, Robbie?
Yeah, nice run. But not underestimate.
Yeah, we're the overestimate club over here.
Yeah. Sorry, guys. But yeah, that's a
Alrighty.
pretty tight estimate.
Be sure to tune back in tomorrow for more shenanigans. I will be running Prince of Persia 2008, which is an absolute blast. Are you running anything tomorrow?
No, I'm actually at work tomorrow, so
Gotcha.
I'll be missing everything. Rip.
Well, thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed it.
Yeah, thanks very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed it like we did. See you.